What's up, folks? How's it going? This is SmartWatch. Hope you guys are all doing well. And today we're going to be doing a head-to-head comparison between the Apple Watch Series 6 and the Galaxy Watch 3. Now, I've had the Galaxy Watch 3 for several months now. Been really enjoying it. And a few months back, we also did a comparison with this and the Apple Watch Series 5. Now, the Series 6, not much has changed. Pretty much identical in terms of the external look of the watch, but internally we have the new S6 processor, as well as the ability to detect the amount of oxygen that you have in your blood. Now, there's a lot of similarities and capabilities that both of these two watches share. We're going to go through the common features that they can track and sense, as well as talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages that each smartwatch presents. Now, before we get into the actual comparison, we have to talk about our sponsor that made this content possible. Now, if you don't know me, I'm a very hairy person, and it takes a lot of effort to tame this beast. And luckily, with the help of Manscaped and the lawnmower trimmer, a lot has been accomplished. But even with the mighty lawnmower trimmer, there's always been issues in certain areas. And no, I'm not talking about that area specifically, you dirty-minded people. I'm talking about the nose and ears, and they've recently came out with a brand new trimmer called the Weed Whacker. Now, what's really cool about the Weed Whacker nose and ear trimmer is that it's specifically designed for that task. If you've ever tried to pluck out your own nose hair manually, you know that's probably the worst pain ever, but you'll never come across that issue thanks to the proprietary skin-safe technology built into the trimmer blades. Now, inside, there's a specially designed 360-degree rotary dual blade system that can rev up to 9,000 RPMs. The trimmer end is actually contoured and angled 23 degrees and is specifically ergonomically designed to be extremely comfortable for any kind of nose size and shape. Plus, it's water resistant, so you can use this trimmer in the dry or wet. And this is the only nose trimmer on the market with a cordless rechargeable lithium-ion battery that lasts over 90 minutes. Furthermore, Manscaped is hooking you guys up with their performance package, which includes everything that you need for below the waist grooming and hygiene, and the new Weed Whacker trimmer that we're talking about. And when you select the Peak Hygiene plan on the Manscaped website, you actually get a replacement set of blades delivered right to your door every 3 months. Finally, check out the description down below, click the link, and use our code MWTech20 to get 20% off your order and free shipping. We want to thank Manscaped for making this content possible. Okay, so firstly, let's talk about the design, form factor, and overall look of the Series 6. Nothing has really changed from the Series 5. You're still looking at a rectangular display, and that display really suits itself well for app integration, navigation purposes. It's really a miniature iPhone on your wrist, which makes sense for a smartwatch. On the other hand, the Samsung Galaxy Watch 3 employs a circular design, has a rotating bezel that interfaces with the Tizen platform that this thing runs on very well, and for the most part it looks more like a traditional watch rather than a smartwatch, which certainly can be a plus side for people that don't want to have that kind of smartwatch look on their wrist. Now, in terms of choosing the right version of the watch, there's a huge list of options available on both platforms, ranging from case size, colors, materials, as well as a possibly infinite number of band and strap options, both from the OEM and third-party manufacturers. Comparatively, the Samsung is a little bit more easier to configure. You have two watch face sizes, 41 and 45 millimeters, stainless steel or titanium construction. The titanium one is obviously going to be lighter. And in terms of color, you're limited to Mystic Bronze, Silver, or Black. The Series 6 certainly has a wider range of case materials ranging from aluminum, stainless steel, titanium. Unfortunately, they've discontinued the ceramic, which was available on the Series 5, but not available on the Series 6 for the time being. So if you want that cool white look on the Apple Watch Series 6, that's unfortunately not available, but they have introduced some new colors, including a blue finish as well as a product red, which helps raise awareness and funds to eliminate HIV and AIDS in 8 African countries. And of course, you can still opt for a more bare metal finish for the case or tinted in a darker space gray or gold finish. Now, in terms of band options, as we mentioned before, potentially an infinite variety on both platforms, since you can hook up third-party wristbands to both watches fairly easily these days. But one thing I really like is this new solo loop band for the Apple Watch. Is basically a stretchable piece of liquid silicone rubber specifically designed to fit your wrist. There's a whole bunch of size options available when you order the watch, and it's a single band with no clasp, buckle in the middle. Super comfortable, super durable, and it's probably the ideal band for anybody that's going to do a lot of fitness related activities with their Apple Watch. Now, the Galaxy Watch 3 that we have over here is actually the smaller 41mm stainless steel case version. And even though this is the smaller version of the Galaxy Watch 3, this is still slightly heavier and thicker than the larger version of the aluminum Series 6, which weighs around 47.1 grams for the 44mm version of the aluminum case versus the 41mm stainless steel case weighs around 48.2 grams. If you do get the titanium version, no doubt the Galaxy Watch 3 will be lighter slightly. But regardless, the Series 6 is thinner, measuring around 10.4 millimeters versus 11.3 millimeters on the Samsung side. Now, I've been using the Galaxy Watch 3 for over 2 months now. I've had a lot of time with it, doing a lot of different stuff, and I don't think it's held up that well, given the fact that I've only used it for a short period of time. There's already some dings on the rotating dial. There's some scratches on the stainless steel case itself, and I haven't really heavily dropped it. This is just from every day-to-day use. I know that the bezel, if you get any sand on it, say if you're doing any kind of swimming on the beach or anything like that, it is tough to clean, and certainly this strap has seen better days. It definitely wears very, very quickly. The leather material on this thing is not that great, and if you're going to use this thing for a lot of vigorous fitness-related activity, long-term sweat is not a good thing for this particular leather strap. You probably want to go for something silicone-related, but generally speaking, durability's sake, I don't think this watch is going to last all that long, considering it is still a premium device. And based on my experience with Apple Watches for several generations, even the cheaper aluminum versions with the ion strengthened glass held up really well throughout the years. They're really scratch resistant, fairly durable no matter what kind of situation you're going to put them through. And again, both watches are water resistant down to about 50 meters deep, so they have no issues with any kind of water or sweat resistance. But just in terms of a general wear and tear, I don't think that the Galaxy Watch 3, based on my experience, is going to hold up that well compared to my experience with the Apple Watches. Now, moving forward from a technical perspective, the Series 6 comes with the S6 dual-core processor, upgraded PowerVR graphics. The S6 is about 20% faster than the S5 processor found on the Series 5. You have 1 gigabyte of RAM as well as 32 gigabytes of internal storage, not to mention Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, as well as the new Apple U1 ultra-wide band wireless chip. This is used for localized connections to other iOS devices for transferring data back and forth. They've been using it for AirDrop functionality on the iPhone 11s, and probably some future potential capabilities coming really soon to the Apple Watch. Now, internally, the Samsung Galaxy Watch 3 is actually quite disappointing. They've pretty much used the exact same processor configuration as the 2-year-old Galaxy Watch. You're looking at an Exynos 9110 dual-core processor with a Melee T720 GPU, 1 gigabyte of RAM, and only 8 gigabytes of internal storage with no expandability options, which is definitely upsetting because I actually download a lot of music on my smartwatch when I'm running and don't take my phone with me. So 8 gigabytes is definitely limited compared to 32 gigabytes on the Apple Watch side. Now, the age of the internal hardware on the Watch 3 definitely shows when you start loading up a whole bunch of different applications and doing a little bit of multitasking. The watch definitely gets bogged down and things things get fairly laggy and clunky to use. Even though we're using a custom Tizen-based operating system specifically designed for this hardware, it's nowhere near as fluid as even the experience that I got with the Series 5, let alone the Series 6, which is even faster. Furthermore, in terms of displays, both are using organic LED technology, so both are very bright and great in terms of our color rendition. The size on the Apple Watch is certainly superior in the sense that you're using a rectangular display, which is certainly better for navigation purposes, as well as having more screen real estate and information that you can display that's useful to the user in mind. The circular display on the Watch 3 is nice to look at, but you do compromise quite a bit in terms of not being able to see as much information on screen and having a smaller screen as well as a smaller screen to body ratio. The resolution is good on the Samsung though. You are looking at a higher PPI count of about 364 versus the Apple Watch is around 326. Now moving on, let's talk about probably the most important things about any smartwatch these days, and that's the ability to track your physical day-to-day activities and all the different parameters that control your biological well-being. Now first and foremost, there's a great overlap of array of sensors and tracking capabilities. Both watches utilize optical heart rate monitors to track your heart rate on a day-to-day basis, as well as track your fitness-related activities. They both have 2-point contact ECG systems, and recently Samsung has gotten FDA approval and an update has been rolled out for North American users to test for irregular heartbeats or symptoms of AFib. This feature has been available on Apple Watch for several years. You also have a dedicated blood oxygen sensor available on both platforms, as well as sleep tracking, a pedometer, and the ability to take a VO2 max rating. And interestingly, on the Apple Watch, it's a little bit more sensitive to lower levels of VO2 max. The Galaxy Watch 3 actually struggles with capturing those lower levels, which is important for folks that are a little bit older and testing out their physical capabilities. Both also have fall detections coupled with an SOS emergency contact system. Both have NFC tap payment methodologies if you want to use them as digital wallets on your wrist. The unique things about both watches, on the Apple Watch side, you have a dedicated hand washing app which will allow you to basically wash your hands, and it'll give you a little tap to make sure that you've washed your hands for the recommended 20 seconds. There's also a noise alert feature, which is kind of a hearing protection system that's on all the time. It's also got a nice little haptic feedback system that taps your wrist for notifications, and it's definitely a cool sensation that will alert you without making too much noise or alerting anybody else. Now, one unique advantage on the Galaxy Watch 3 is that it can actually take a blood pressure reading straight from the watch itself. Now, in order to do so, you do need to calibrate the watch using an actual blood pressure monitor, and based on some predictive algorithms using your heart rate through the watch, your systolic and diastolic blood pressure range, it will analyze and give you a rough estimate of what your blood pressure is. You do need to calibrate the Watch 3 to get a somewhat accurate range for your blood, but I probably wouldn't trust it. If you really need to make sure you have an accurate and consistent blood pressure rating based on medical conditions, you probably don't want to use this app, but it's a feature nonetheless available on the Watch 3 and not on the Apple Watch. Now, some of the other unique features on the Watch 3 is that it has a couple of different gestures you can enable using your hand. For example, if you open up your hand, you can actually answer and take calls. If you flip your wrist, you can actually mute alarms or incoming calls, which is pretty cool. And if you press both side buttons at the same time, you can take a quick screenshot of whatever is on your display, so you can easily recall a notification or email for later use. Moreover, I know the big standout feature for the Series 6 is the blood oxygen sensor, but this is a feature that's been available on the Samsung watches for pretty much the beginning, and it's even been available on older generation Samsung smartphones like the Note 4, S6. Pretty much any optical heart rate sensor has the ability to be programmed into giving you a rough estimate of what the oxygen level is in your red blood cells. I understand that Apple has redesigned their optical heart rate monitor on the Series 6 specifically to give you a more accurate prediction of what your O2 levels are. But nonetheless, the levels that you're going to get from the Galaxy Watch 3 to the Apple Watch are going to be from a fairly narrow margin of error. Now, moving on. In terms of tracking your day-to-day movement and fitness-related activities, both have very similar overlapping features, but present that information in a completely different way. The Apple Watch famously uses the 3 rings that represent movement, exercise, as well as standing time, and your objective throughout the day is to close those 3 rings based on your physical requirements and desired goals. Now, on the Samsung, you can set up your watch face to have kind of a similar motivating style look as the 3-ring setup that we find on the Apple Watch, but it is something that you're going to have to put a little work into doing. But when it comes to actually initiating a workout, you have a tremendous range on both platforms, ranging from resistance training, swimming, running, jogging, you name it, it's pretty much there. Or you can just select other workout and have just a heart rate monitor monitoring your movements and your heart, which will give you an estimate in terms of how many calories you're burning. And of course, depending upon your fitness goals and training styles, the core most important metrics will always be saved in terms of the duration of the workout, the distance that you travel if you're going on a run, and of course your heart range, which will give you some sort of indication of whether you're improving. And you can track and save all that data on the watch and recall it on your smartphone for later review and analysis to see whether you're improving or not. For me personally, the training is split up into 2 halves: 50% strength-based resistance training in order to get the bones, tendons, ligaments, and skeletal muscles stronger and bigger. I do compete in powerlifting, so I focus only on the barbell movements. The other 50% of the time, I'm focusing on the cardiovascular system, so that's doing a lot of outdoor runs as well as indoor stationary cardio work. And both watches do a great job of capturing your heart rate for that activity as well as the duration and calories. They're a little bit different in terms of how they monitor and calculate those calories. They're all based on your age, weight, and gender, obviously, but everything's going to fluctuate depending upon the algorithms they're specifically using for that specific app as well. And I do find that the running app on the Watch 3 is a little bit more sophisticated. I do like the built-in running coach. It has a great analysis after your workout in terms of flight time, contact time, your overall running form, whether you're asymmetrical on one leg to the other, your overall speed, and just the overall metrics that you get from the heart rate built into the watch is more accurate and more fleshed out and detailed compared to what you get on the Apple Watch side, specifically for running. Now, one thing that's relatively new for both watches is the ability to pair up to a secondary display for on-screen home workouts. Now, the Samsung Watch has been offering this feature for quite some time now, and with the Watch 3, you can actually do this independently of any smartphone. You can actually cast up a home workout on your big TV just using the watch, and it will monitor your heart rate and all the different metrics while you're working out to the live or pre-programmed video program. And there's a whole bunch of different paid and free options on the Samsung side. On the Apple Watch side, Apple has just launched their new Apple Fitness Plus subscription service, which will give you live home workouts, basically giving you the same capabilities of having a big screen video program out there, and the Apple Watch is going to be tracking your heart rate and all the different metrics alongside that, so you can see how you do and how you progress. I personally wouldn't use these home-based on-screen workouts. I'd rather be outside or at a gym, but if you don't have those options, this is definitely an awesome alternative, and certainly there's a lot of free YouTube videos out there that will pretty much give you the same capabilities. Now, one of the final things I want to talk about is the sleep tracking capabilities of both platforms. Now, for the longest time, the Apple Watch didn't have any native sleep tracking capabilities, but with the new watchOS 7 update, they finally added it to the Health app, and now you can track your sleep. It's a fairly rudimentary system, but it's implemented in a really brilliant way, I think. It all starts with this wind down process, which is based on your sleep schedule that you set in on the iPhone. And once this occurs, it'll automatically dim your screen. You can actually program it for HomeKit to set the lights down, maybe play some music or a podcast, audiobook, whatever you like. It'll be based on your calendars and reminders, and it will actively change based on your schedule. But once that occurs, it kind of gets you ready to get into bed. And once the bedtime starts, it will actually put your devices into sleep mode. That's including your iPhone and your Apple Watch, so you don't get distracted. The screen won't come on when you're in bed. Now, when you wake up, you can see how many hours of shut-eye you got. It's fairly rudimentary, as we mentioned before. It won't tell you the stages of different sleep that you went through throughout the night, the REM sleep levels, or anything like that. Now, contrary on the Samsung side, they've actually partnered up with the National Sleep Foundation to give you a fairly in-depth analysis of what your bedtime was like. So you have different sleep stages available, whether you sleep light or deep throughout the night, and more importantly, the amount of REM, which is super important for overall recovery and well-being. And it'll also give you a sleep score as well as advice to get better shut-eye and good bedtime habits and things like that, something that the iPhone does as well. Now, the iPhone sleep app, the native one, it's not that great, but you can certainly install things like Sleep Plus Plus, Auto Sleep, NapBot, Pillow. There's tons of different third-party applications made for the Apple Watch that will give you pretty much similar capabilities as the Galaxy Watch 3. Now, tracking your sleep is definitely a good idea, but for me personally, it's definitely a nuisance using a smartwatch. I can never really get a good night's sleep with something on my wrist. There are certainly other devices that are less obtrusive and specifically designed for tracking your sleep. So far, my favorite way of tracking your sleep is through the Amazfit earbuds. We've done a video on those. If you haven't seen that already, click on the card. And another big downside of using these smartwatches to track your sleep is you're going to lose some battery life. On average, I lose about 20% charge. And of course, the battery performance on both of these watches is probably their biggest downside. On the Apple Watch, you're looking at about 18 hours according to Apple. And on the Watch 3, the 41 millimeter version, which has a much smaller battery, you're looking at about 1 day. On the larger 45 millimeter version of the Samsung Watch 3, you're looking at about 2 days. It does have a slightly larger battery than the 44 millimeter version of the Apple Watch, but generally, at best, you're probably going to get a day and a half with any of these watches, so you're pretty much charging them all the time, if not throughout the middle of the day. And charging is fairly convenient. You do have proprietary chargers for the most part. The Samsung can be wirelessly charged through PowerShare devices, so if you have a Samsung device or a smartphone that has that capability, that's a convenient factor there. And perhaps we'll have some reverse charging capabilities on the new generation iPhones for charging the Apple Watch, which would definitely be pretty handy. But besides that, guys, that's really it. Definitely love to hear your thoughts on what you think is the best smartwatch right now. What do you guys think of the new Apple Watch Series 6 compared to the Galaxy Watch 3? In my opinion, I still think that the Apple Watch is the superior product, but for a lot of people, it's going to determine on what smartphone that they already have. If you have an iPhone, you're probably going to go Apple Watch. If you have a Samsung, probably Galaxy Watch 3 or some kind of Android smartwatch. But for me personally, if I had to pick one, it would still go with the Apple Watch, which kind of sucks because I'm not a regular iPhone user, but that might change with the new iPhone 12 launch coming out very, very soon. But for me, the app integration, the overall architecture, the navigation, and the fit and finish, and the overall experience that I get with the Apple Watch is definitely superior in my opinion. I think it's a more fully fleshed out product compared to the experience that I get with the Watch 3, which is certainly the best competitor besides the Apple Watch. Now, with regards to how does the Apple Watch Series 6 compare to the Series 5, I don't think it's worth the upgrade for the blood oxygen sensor, and I don't think that the S6 is that all that faster from a user experience than the S5. The S5 was certainly plenty fast and didn't really have too many issues with multitasking and things like that. But if apps become more sophisticated, more power hungry, certainly the S6 will be a little bit more future-proof in that sense, but generally speaking, not worth it to upgrade from the Series 5 to the Series 6. But we will be doing a video on how the Series 6 compares to the SE as well as the Apple Watch Series 3. So if you're interested in what the current Apple Watch looks like in terms of the lineup and which one is best for you, definitely check out that video. Check out the description for that. Also check out the performance package from manscaped.com, which will include the new Weed Whacker trimming. We want to thank Manscaped for supporting the channel and sponsoring our videos, and we want to thank you guys even more for giving us a thumbs up, subscribing, and making sure you have post notifications turned on so you get our content and make all this possible. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you real soon. Take care.